I'm so excited about this video because vibe coding and AI coding is the future, especially Lovable. It's the future of prototyping. But how do you get your prototype into the App Store? And how do you add native functionalities into that application? Today, I'm going to show you how you can actually do that. So first of all, you want to have a project inside of Lovable. And now we're going to connect it with a tool called Despia that allows you to convert your Lovable application into a real mobile application that is 100% App Store and Google Play Store compliant that you can one-click publish. Plus, with the Despia package that is on NPM, since only 3 days and already has 1,157 installs, so it's going very nice with that, you can add native functionalities into Lovable. So let's get right started with that. So first of all, we take this Lovable project and we publish it. This will give us a link, a URL, right? And we take this URL and we're going to go to the tool Despia. We create a new project in there and we're going to paste it inside of here. And then we're going to link Despia with our Apple or Google Android developer account, which I already have. I have my development team inside of here. If you have not added one, it's just adding your team ID, your issue ID, uploading your P8 API key and your API key ID, and then you link it and it's one click and you send it to there. And now I already have the application built with the Lovable project. So if I now go on my Android, on my iPhone or Android, I can open the application and it's a real native application that I can test through TestFlight. And this will now load my Lovable application as a native app. And it comes right here through TestFlight. So it's not a PWA, it's not a hack. You can get it on the store, run through TestFlight or Android beta. Now here's the best. It even has amazing native functionalities like shortcuts or, hold on, smart widgets. You can't do this in a web app. You can like have a widget and then have that widget open your native Lovable application. So now that we have that application distributed, in just minutes, we can actually add real native functionalities. So let's tell it to add the Despia NPM package. So let's copy the Despia native NPM package from NPM, and let's ask Lovable to integrate this NPM package. I'm going to paste the link and I'm going to go into chat mode so it comes up with a plan and I can verify that the stuff that it tries to implement is actually correct. So now Lovable is thinking. It says, I'll help you integrate the Despia native NPM package into your project. Let me first examine what the package does and then create a plan for integration. So it searches the stuff, it looks it up on the internet, and now it comes up with a plan. It checks the package JSON and all this stuff. Since I couldn't find any specific documentation for Despia native package through the web search, let me try to access the NPM package directly to understand it. The package may be private. Okay, so here's the thing. The package is only on NPM since 3 days and already has over 1,000 installs, which is great. So what you want to do in this example, because it's still new, I think this video will be more relevant in a month when it's already indexed on Google. But just copy the whole documentation on NPM, right? That's just what you're going to do. And you're going to go back into Lovable and you're going to put that into the chat. And now it gets the data because that is all it needs to understand how the package works. I can see you want to integrate the Despia SDK into your React project. Let me analyze the current code base and create a detailed implementation plan. Now, let me look at the current implementation files to understand the project structure better. Okay, so now it understands how this works. Build a centralized service for all Despia SDK integrations. Use Despia, use haptic feedback. Okay, so what it does, it tries to complicate it. So let's go back into Lovable. Now, while what it does is a fully working solution, it doesn't have to be that complicated. So now that it has the context in the AI chat, we wanted to start the setup easy and simple. So let's go to Lovable and let's say, just start like this. Okay. And over here, I'm going to say, install NPM. And then the next step will be use package and I'm going to the NPM, and we're going to use this import statement. That's how we're going to use it in the application. So I'm going to go back to Lovable, paste this inside of here, and then use package features use package features, and then inside of here, I'm going to go into the hooks and how they work. We also have a little blog article. Highly suggest you reading that. And in this example, we can just do Despia success haptic to have a success haptic feedback, or Despia local push. Well, let's just do a local push notification as an example, right? So we can set up a local push notification. In this example, the way Despia works is it works with this Despia function. So in this example, we have Despia as a function, and inside of here in a string, right, I'm just going to put the command. Now, where can you find the commands? You can find the commands on docs.despia.com. So you see you have a URL scheme and parameters. Those are the command triggering native functionalities. So let's say we want to do an in-app purchase. I can copy the command here that's in this in those quotes, and I'm just going to Lovable. I'll put this in this Despia function here. In the quotes, it's like one line of code, super simple, and let's actually make it work in real time, right? So in this example, like a really working example, let's go to my app in RevenueCAD, which it's super simple to set up. Let's look at our product catalog. Let's go to products. Let's copy the product ID. Let's go to Lovable. Let's just replace that here, right? I have my purchase, and then I just put my ID inside of here, and the ID will be, in this example, device ID. So now how do I get the device ID? That will be something that we'll add later to the prompt. But now, as you can see, it will add the device ID, the product, purchase, and all those kinds of things. So now how does it get the device ID? We can actually say the device ID comes from Despia.uuid, because if you look at the npm documentation, let's look for Despia dot, right? You see that you can access the variables that are attached to the Despia window through Despia dot. So we have this UUID, which is the unique device ID. So we could run the method to get it, but it's already pre-injected. So we can just do Despia.uuid to actually get those important system IDs. So the device ID comes from Despia UUID, right? So now let's just send it to the chat, right? It's not implementing it yet. So it comes up with a whole plan, and then we're going to implement the plan. That's how you're not going to waste a bunch of credits for stuff that, you first want to plan out. So install the Despia SDK, create Despia service. I don't like that it wants to create a Despia service. Let's say skip that. Just do the minimal example that Despia native suggests, right? Okay, let's make it sure that it comes up with a plan where it uses it as minimal as possible. Well, you can create a service and you can create a wrapper function, and all the complexity, it really usually doesn't pay off, because the more complex your Lovable project gets, the harder it gets to manage all the stuff that you add around it, right? So in this example, it comes up with this plan. So look at this. And it gets it all from the documentation that we pasted. So it does import Despia from Despia native, environment detection. It looks is Despia by looking if the user agent includes Despia. That's completely correct. And then it creates this Despia service, which gets the Despia UUID, and then it has a def UUID holder, which actually makes sense with the service, because then we have a web fallback, right? So makes sense. And then we have this make purchase, return RevenueCAD. It adds the device ID. The device ID will probably come from the device ID variable that it had somewhere up there, right? And then it sets that up. You have haptic feedback. Let's say I do not want a service. I just want a button calling the in-app purchase on the home page, right? And now let's have Lovable come up with a plan. Now, the nice thing about Lovable is I always suggest chat with it, look at the code, see if it looks overloaded, and then just implement the most minimal version that you can have to keep your code base clean. So let's look at that. It does import Despia, it handles the purchase, then runs the in-app purchase with the Despia UUID, and injects that in there. That's completely 120% correct. Now, you don't have to send the device ID. You can also send the ID of the logged in user. That's also something that you can do. In this example, I'm just logging the device ID. Perfect. So now that looks perfect. Let's implement this plan. So we're implementing this plan, and now it's going to build that in the application. Now, the nice thing about that is the Despia SDK is actually very lightweight and very simple. You can implement most native features with just a line of code. Like, it's very simple. Just, this is haptic feedback. This is taking a screenshot. This is getting, no, that is not an valid example. But for example, this here is getting the app version as a data log back to it. So it's very simple to set up and very lightweight. So you're going to use less credits, and it's already fully set up. Look at that. Let's verify the code. Important is to look out for, we're importing Despia from Despia native. That is perfect. Sometimes it does like Despia package from Despia 123 and it makes up some stuff. But if you paste in the NPM documentation, it'll get it 100% right. And then you see we have this handled purchase function, which runs revenue cat. It runs the purchase, the product that we have here. That's valid. And it adds the Despia UUID for the purchase. Amazing. So that looks good. The other stuff is also fine. That's just the React code. But this is important. This looks good. Good to me. So now that we have it published, let's just exit that, right? And now we want to publish it in Lovable. Now the cool thing is Despia has updates over the air, like code push, very similar to that. So you can publish the update inside of Lovable, right inside of here, and it'll update it on the live app in the App Store, on the live app in the Android Play Store, and on, your test flight app and your Android beta app. So now that it was published, I can close the Lovable mobile app, open the mobile app, and I do have Face ID for verification inside of here. And now, as you can see, the update was changed. But even better, if I click on Make In-App Purchase, it now triggers an in-app purchase. And now I can purchase that in-app purchase. And now I need my password, so I'm going to make a little cut and put it in there. So now I got my password. Let's go in here and paste that. Let's confirm. And now we made the in-app purchase, which is a native feature. Look at that. Thanks to Revenue Cat, easily integrated in just minutes inside of your Lovable application. So now if I go to Revenue Cat, you see that just a few seconds ago, we made this one-time in-app purchase, and that is the device ID. That is the unique ID attached to this iPhone, this physical device that I have that we got directly into our Lovable application. So, and we can see all the history, all the data that is attached to this device. We can see the whole journey, when it was first seen, what it purchased, if it has the Apple consent, and we can map it with more information like a OneSignal ID, which we also have available. So we can use the Revenue Cat REST API to get the OneSignal player ID and all that kind of stuff, and then through our backend. For example, we can get the OneSignal player ID. So if we look at Despia, we have this OneSignal integration, which will give us the OneSignal player ID. So because this is a variable and we're running it in this Despia SDK, which is specifically designed for Lovable, Replit, all the vibe coding tools, and we're wrapping all the variables that we would normally get just like this in the Despia object. So we're just going to go inside of here and we're going to say, add a text element to the page, or let's say add an input element to the page pre-filled with Despia.OneSignalPlayerID. So you can use this value in API calls to link the device with the OneSignalPlayerID. So you have the OneSignalPlayerID of the device in your backend, so you can send remote push notifications, no setup needed. So you can get this native device data super simple. So add an input. Oh, it should be a P, but I apologize for that. So I can do add an input element to the page pre-filled with Despia.OneSignalPlayerID. And then we're getting native data loaded inside of our Lovable application without having to learn native development. And you're more flexible in setting those things up. Changes are made pretty quickly. Look at that. You see placeholder, and then the value comes from Despia. .OneSignalPlayerID, and then we have a fallback. So if I now publish this in Lovable, I'm loading native data into my application, which is pretty darn cool. And then I get updates over there. So you update it on the App Store in just a click. So now we go back to the application. We can close the application, open the native mobile app again, just like that, and you will see we will have the OneSignalPlayerID pre-filled right inside of here that we can now take, send to the backend, and then link it with RevenueCat, create a real amazing funnel when there is some uncompleted in-app purchases and all that kind of stuff. So you can really do amazing stuff with it, and there are so many native functionalities and features that you can set up, like factory reboot, social share, file downloading, native safe area, all that kind of stuff. It's really cool. Biometric verification, you can add that too. I already have it in there. Device indexing, haptic feedback, background location, push permission, share into app, shortcuts, native widgets, which is really cool. Lets you build those smart widgets that you can have on your home screen like I showed you. So definitely check out our documentation. Now you know how simple it is by just installing the Despia NPM package inside of your Lovable project to add native functionalities. And then when it comes into getting it on the App Store and testing it, it's just going to Publish App, clicking on Publish Project. We have a native integration with App Store Connect and Google Play Store, right? And then you can just get it on the store and you can get it into the world, and you can use all the advertisement that the App Store and the authority that gives your application without having to write a single line of code manually. And it's very made to be efficient for the context, because with one line of code, you got native functionalities running into Lovable. So that's how simple you can do that. Let me know if you want more videos on vibe coding native mobile applications in Lovable using Despia. Thank you so much for watching, and let me know in the comments what you're going to build with it. Take care.